Are you?
Good evening. I am Kamau Kujichagulia. This is On the Case with Kamau Kujichagulia. And today we have a special guest. Helping me out tonight is Michael Harmon. Hello, Michael.
Hello, how are you doing, Brother Kamau? Dad?
Thank you. I'm doing very, very well there, son. I don't know if there's any resemblance between the two of us, but Michael is my son. Some people say we look alike, but I've always figured I was pretty good looking, so I don't know. On the Case with Kamau Kujichagulia, we come here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. and we interview the people who count in Trenton, New Jersey. And that can be, that's a lot of people that we're going to have to get to. I mean, there's 85,000 people in Trenton. We're going to have to get with 84,627 of them, because they are the people who count.
Okay? At least.
Okay? So we're going to see what we can do. Tonight we're supposed to have Jasi Edwards, who is running for Council At-Large. Yeah, she's running for Council At-Large. She's a little late right now, but we'll be getting with her shortly. And then at 8:30, we're going to have Jennifer Williams, who is running for Northwood Council, and we're going to be getting with her at that time also. So until then, me and my son will have a discussion about some of the things going on in Trenton. And one of the things, son, that I'm interested in is the elected school board, or this year the city is putting on the ballot whether or not the citizens, the voters of Trenton, want to return to an elected school board. Okay. So that's something that's going to go on there. And I've heard various opinions about what should we go back to an elected school board, or should we continue to have what we have now, is that the mayor actually selects the members of the school board. And there are pros and cons about that. What do you think?
What are some of the pros and cons about that?
Well, I tell you, what I've heard mostly from people is that they're interested in going back to an elected school board. And the ones who say, the only people that I've heard say that they don't want an elected school board are school board members. Okay?
Doesn't seem like they want more input.
Well, what I thought when I hear them say that is that they don't think if they ran for election that they would win. Okay? That's what it sounds like to me. You've been on the school board for a few years, and all of a sudden, people say, "Oh, well, let's elect it." And I would say, okay, that's a great idea, because now instead of being selected, I can be elected by the people. But they don't seem as though they think that the people would actually vote for them, which is interesting.
They'd actually have a campaign and prove their worth.
Yeah, and another thing is they have a what do you call it? A record, of what they've been doing. They have something to run on. But seems to me that the ones as bad as the school district has been doing for the past, not just for their tenure, but for the past 40, 50 years, their record that they're running on ain't very good.
Not good at all.
Okay, so
what are some of the improvements you think they should make?
Reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Start at the bottom.
I'm pretty easy, but
education.
Yeah, something very simple. Yeah, we have a comment from Dana K. Harmon. That's another Harmon. Harmon. She says sometimes being elected means people will hold you accountable. Yeah, and I think what has happened is that the school boards have not been held accountable.
And they're not used to having to be held accountable, wouldn't know how to act if they had to be held accountable.
That's true, you know. So I can understand their reticence in not having an elected school board, you know. But I, for one, would like to. You know, they go back and they say that, you know, years ago, what's a woman's name? Virginia Conti, I believe. She was on the school board. And back in those days, you know, this is in their late 70s, early 80s. There was still a bunch of white folks living in Trenton. You know, a lot of Italians. Chambersburg was still mainly a white area. You know, and the rest of Trenton was turning black. So there was a lot of friction back in those days, you know, because there was a change in motion. And okay. The older white folks were not, I wouldn't say, well, I will say against. They were against. They were very timid in wanting to concede any power to black folks, you know. But the black folks was coming in, and you know, they was taking power, and so there was a lot of friction. So that's why they went to an appointed school board. This appointed school board, man, people have to have some type, be held accountable. You know,
in
right
some
now.
way.
In some way. That's what I'm saying. You know? So.
We'll see how it works, though.
Well, we will do that, you know, and I hope that they get back to an elected. Another point, too, was a lot of people who ran for the school board, that was like the beginning of their political journey. Was getting elected, finding out how to get elected to the school board.
That could be.
And then they went from the school board up to the county commissioners. Then from the county commissioner, they went to the city council. From the city council, they went to state office. I mean, that's how it used to be. And right now, you know, and again, for them to do that, for them to make that transition, they have to prove that they deserve to get voted further on.
Exactly.
You know, so like Dana was saying, they'd be held accountable for their record. And it's hard for somebody to want to continue to vote for you when you have a record of kids not being able to read, write, or do math.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So it should be, in my humble opinion, it should be changed. Just for
in my amateur opinion, I believe it should be an elected board also.
Yeah, you know, let it be the word of the people.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Because another thing too is what happens is the mayor selects the school board members, and with the approval of the council, and then the mayor and the council say, "Oh, we don't have any input into the school. We can't do anything about what's happening in the school." And I'm saying, wait a minute, hold up. How the heck you put people there, and then you say, "Oh, I don't have any responsibility for that." You do have responsibility for that.
Yeah. Put people there to skirt the responsibility to everybody else.
That's right. So, you know, if they don't want the responsibility, and throw it back into the arms of the people. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what I think. You know, and for those school board members who are already school board members, run on your record. You know,
and let us know your future ideas.
Right.
That's right. And without the elected board, it kind of breeds laziness to be appointed. And then not have accountability, you don't have to prove yourself. And for the past 40 years, like you said, they haven't. So I think it's time for some change.
We got another Harmon. Boy, these Harmons is rough out there today. Hello, Temple Harmon. I like her too. Do you know the basis of selection now? No, huh? I don't know what the basis of selection is now. I really don't. I know that the mayor makes a selection, but what criterion he uses to do that, I have no idea. And that's not good, you know. Because, I mean, think about it. I'm out there, you know, I research a lot of things, and I have absolutely no idea what the criterion are for becoming selected to the school board. So if I don't know, the likelihood that 99% of the other people don't know is pretty strong. And I don't think if we have an elected school board, if they say 20, 30% of the people vote, well, 20%, 30% of the people will know why they did or did not get elected. All right. So that's a whole lot better than what we have right now. Okay. You know, I want to leave Trenton for a little bit, just for a little bit. You know, I was looking at, you know, nowadays, you know, we got cable, so you're liable. And what I have, what they call it, global or something. Yeah, no, but I get all the stations in the United States. You know, okay. So I was down on a Florida station, and they were talking about Ian, whatever that hurricane that came through a couple of weeks ago. I'm thinking it was amazing. It was about 3 weeks ago now, they say. And they were showing the devastation, because I really haven't paid much attention to it. They were showing the devastation of that is still there today. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm shocked at what I saw. I'm just shocked. Wow.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
That was kind of devastating, and I didn't really know what was going on.
Nope. But them people got whooped down there. And I mean, but buildings were just, you can see the foundation. They were just gone. Well, they don't have foundations. They have like pylons that they build buildings on. There wasn't nothing on the pylons anymore, you know?
Boat yards, flipped over boats.
Right. You know? So that's sad. It's very sad. And you know, Michael, this kind of thing goes on all around the world all the time. And we're just fortunate enough that, you know, we don't get that kind of devastating weather very often, you know?
Right.
That's because basically we live in the city of the Big T, you know. Trenton don't play that.
You might deal with the Delaware a little bit, but that's about it.
Every now and again, Delaware come up, you know. Don't be messing with Trenton.
You know, we good over here.
Okay, in 2011, a devastating tornado happened in Tuscaloosa. Now, this is Dana Harmon. She lives down that way. I think in Tuscaloosa, right? No, she lives in Montgomery. And it took years for certain areas to be rebuilt. I've never seen anything like it. TV does not do justice to that. No, it don't, because what happens with national TV is, you know, they're there for a couple days, but then they move on. Mm-hmm. You know, there's other stuff that comes up, so they forget all about that old story. You know.
No.
So, you know, when you have these disasters, there are so many people who are affected by it that have to live through it for not just for a couple days like we do, but for months and even years. You know, the devastation before it is repaired, or if it is ever repaired. They're talking about people down in Florida, and I suppose in Tuscaloosa and other places that people will never go back to where they were, never had what they had before. So
right,
that's not good.
TV doesn't do justice. It doesn't give the depth that's going on at that time.
No, you know, like I've come to realize that all of television, whether it be news shows or reality shows or, you know, series or whatever, is all entertainment. Sports is all entertainment. You listen to these clowns when they get on this sports show. You know, I think about Michael Irvin. My God, he's like I don't know what he is. You know what I mean? He got
Stephen.
and all the other off the wall junk. You know, and it's like everything is entertainment. So everything is scripted. Boom, 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 and you just can't. You know, just can't deal with that anymore. You know, you have to realize that what you're hearing is a script. It's something to get your attention, hold your attention, and fill your head with a bunch of whatever they want to fill your head with. You know,
Exactly.
okay. And Dana says many people left the city just like after Hurricane Katrina because they were displaced. Yeah, people just get devastated and they get displaced. Wow, imagine something happening here where 40-50% of the people lose their homes, and wow, I mean that's staggering. It's staggering. You know?
Yep.
Just something to look after. You know, we have not only Trenton elections coming up, but we have the national midterm elections coming. Not that I really care. I'm really not into it.
Oh goodness, I was wondering where you were going with that.
That ain't me. You know what I mean? Because I figure white supremacy is white supremacy. You know, it don't matter whether it's a white Republican or a white Democrat or a white independent or white whatever. You know, white supremacy is white supremacy. You know? So,
Let's not get suspended, Father.
suspended for what?
Yeah, they'll throw us in jail.
Who?
I get thrown in jail for talking about white supremacy on a regular basis.
I'm sorry?
I get thrown in jail on social media on a regular basis for talking about white supremacy. So watch yourself.
I ain't gonna watch myself. I'm not gonna tell any lies. You know, I just, you know, from my experience, white supremacists only do what benefits the system of white supremacy. That's the only thing they do. They don't do anything against the system of white supremacy. That's my experience. You know, I don't know what somebody else's experience is, but that's what mine is. You know, so
whatever they do eventually will benefit their system.
Yeah,
right? They might give up a little bit for the time being, but
nothing.
Right back around.
They ain't giving up nothing if it hurts the system of white supremacy. They do not do that. You know, that's been my experience. Okay, now I don't know what somebody else's experience is. That's been my experience. White supremacists. I'm talking about white supremacists. Okay, don't do anything to harm the system of white supremacy. Nothing, and they never have, never will. You know, and you know people talk about the progress that we've made. Well, it's always been a system of white supremacy. Always. I mean, it started off as a system of white supremacy, and today it is a system of white supremacy. And I don't know what progress was made. It's still a system of white supremacy.
How do you judge progress?
How do I judge progress? By the system of white supremacy no longer being the ruling system of the world. You know,
I was thinking more of the wealth.
Oh well. Oh, don't.
Yeah, I was thinking more of the wealth.
You know the people talk about household income, that white folks have 17 times more assets than black people do, Hispanic people do.
Mm-hmm.
Man, let me tell you what. One company, one like Google or Amazon or Tesla or whatever,
mm-hmm.
has as many assets as every black business in this country. Okay, that's one company. Mm-hmm. As the total gross assets of all the black asset companies in the country. And then you take the other 50 million companies, white businesses in America. They have, from, I don't know, just my figuring, all right, they must have 100, 200, a million times more wealth than we do. All right, you can't catch up to that. You can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Even if you got boots, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can do whatever the heck you want to do, okay? But you can't catch up to somebody that has 1 million times more assets than you do.
But just judging, we're talking about progress. If you have the same amount of wealth from 100 years ago that you basically have now, in terms of percentages, what progress is made?
Exactly. And I guess it was about 20 years ago. I did a study on that. In 1865, black businesses accounted for approximately 1.5% of the total business of the United States. That's in 1865. In 1995, black businesses. Now, see, I'm wrong. In 1865, we accounted for about 0.5%. In 1995, we accounted for about 1/3%. Okay, we had increased our income substantially, but then they had increased theirs substantially too.
Exactly.
So
but we can vote.
We had actually digressed from what we used to have. Actually. And I'm saying,
we can vote.
Y'all, think about this, huh?
We can vote.
Stop it. Yeah, well, okay, what's that mean to you?
They let us vote now,
Okay.
They let us vote. It don't mean nothing to me. I'm not the voter type. Maybe in some local elections, but national, just don't pay much attention to it.
I voted for Obama.
Yeah, I did too.
That's because my wife and my daughter said, "You gonna get your behind out here and you gonna vote for Obama." I said, "Okay."
I voted in the last election too. I voted for Louis Farrakhan. I wrote his name in.
Oh, I see why they banned you off of Facebook. Oh, that's a shame.
I wrote the
one time I lost my bet when I had the printing business. I lost a $3,000 a month customer. Talking about Louis Farrakhan. He asked me a question.
You gotta give an answer.
I had to give an answer. Oh, I didn't have to answer, but if I did, I was going to answer it truthfully.
Man, you're not gonna lie.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna do that. $3,000. Shit, my whole business at that time was worth about $4,000 a month.
You're the whole Prince, though.
He gave me $3,000. I said, "Damn!" I said, "You gonna leave me?" You the one to ask. Shit. Oh well. Farrakhan that's my boy though. That's my boy.
Yeah, mine too. I'm sure he's messed up a lot of people that way though.
No, he ain't messed up. He didn't mess us up. It wasn't him who messed us up.
I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? Oh, Farrakhan, all right.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
We do not have the same generational wealth and never will because of what Michael just said. I don't know what Michael just said.
I said a lot.
I know you say you do. You talk a lot.
I said a lot.
Okay, well, we shall. I don't know what happened to Jazzy. Man, I really miss not having Jazzy. Okay, I know what else I wanted to talk about. I want to tell people that. Peace family, where's Jennifer Williams? She's on at 8:30. So that's where she is. Right now we're supposed to be with Jasi Edwards. I don't know what happened to Jazzy.
We gotta reschedule that one, definitely.
Yeah, well, we shall see. I mean, election's coming up, and we're pretty full right now, so we shall see. But anyway, I wanted to talk about people who we've invited that just haven't responded. Okay, like the mayor, you know, he thinks I don't like him, but I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. What I care. I'm here to, you know, my job is to present people to the people. You know?
You want the peace,
right? Yeah, that's what I want to do, and I want to. What I dream about doing is getting. I mean, there are so many people in Trenton, so many people just here in Trenton that are doing so much. You know, people you just don't know about. I mean, I remember. Well, you don't have to remember. I know now of drill teams. You know, these are people who are working their butt off. There are people working in churches who are working with kids, who are working. They're doing all kinds of things, man. All kinds of things. Some people are writing books. Some people are working here. They're working, and they all have a story to tell. And I want to let the people try to know these people's stories. That's what I'm here for. You know? I mean, like you have a story to tell.
Me?
You know? Yeah, you. Because, you know, you've been here. You're old now. You're not a young buck no more.
I don't know if I appreciate that. You know, I'm getting better. You know? I mean, I like to believe I'm getting better.
I like to think you're getting better, too. Okay, this Temple Harmon, I wonder who she is. Peace, okay. I don't know anything about the mayor, but Trenton was busy this summer, and I enjoyed that change. Well, that's a good thing because she's looking at it from a totally different perspective. Mm-hmm. She has 5 kids, and she's trying to keep those 5 kids busy. And it's a good thing. It's a great thing. The mayor ought to come on and talk about what made the Trenton so busy this summer. What he did this summer to make Trenton so much busier than it has been for I guess tough times.
I know First Fridays, the mayor did a good job setting up that First Fridays event downtown.
Well, I don't think that was the mayor who did that. I think he may have been part of it, but I think it was the African American Cultural Collaborative, which Jasi Edwards, had she shown, is a member of. You know,
she could have set me straight.
Oh, okay. Well, she could have. You know, she could get you to join. You know, so you know, but I would love to have the mayor on so he could tell people what made this summer so busy for the likes of Temple Harmon and her family. Every now and again, I see Jennifer Williams coming on the screen, but then she leaves. I don't know if she's having trouble getting on or what that is about. Maybe someone in the production studio can give her a quick call and see if she's having any trouble, or a quick email or something to see if she's having trouble getting on. What else is there? Oh man, what you got, son?
Not much. My Boston Celtics beat up on the Sixers the other night.
Boston. Boston, I'll be damned. I don't know where that came from. That did not come from me. All right, y'all, don't put Boston on me. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing whatsoever. So there's Miss Williams. Well, what we're going to do is about time that we can talk with Miss Jennifer Williams, who is running for North Ward Council. So let's bring her on right now. Can we do that, Shawnee? Hi, Miss Williams.
Hi, Mr. Kamau. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's good
to hear.
We met a couple of weeks ago, right? You know what? I remember because nowadays I forget a lot of things. But you were with Richard LaRosa.
Yes, we met at the church that has that amazing mission of having a free laundry available to people in the community. So they have a place to wash and dry their clothes and gain some dignity. Yeah, we had a nice little conversation.
That is really good out there. They're doing a good job. That's Tony Roberts. Tony Roberts, Reverend Matthew.
Pastor Roberts. Yeah.
Was that North Clinton Church of God?
Yes, sir.
Yep. They have a laundry ministry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right across from the church. It's pretty unique. I mean, I've heard of things like that in California and San Francisco, particularly in some of the cities that have a lot of homeless folks. But to have that happen in here in Trenton, that's really good. And it's nice to see a church do it, but also get it away from where, the soup kitchen is and the rescue mission is and all that area that seems we congregate people in.
Yeah, we do. So you are Jennifer Williams. You're running for North Ward Council.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Right? Well, before we ask you about the political aspects of your life, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, lifelong Trenton resident. Grew up in the East Ward. Was born at St. Francis Hospital, which unfortunately looks like it's going to close on us. City of 100,000 people with one hospital. That's not a good thing. But I was the youngest of 7, Irish Catholic family. As the youngest, in a house with one bathroom, you learn how to negotiate. You learn how to negotiate from a position where you may not have the power as the youngest. But it was a great life. My folks never went to college. My dad got back from World War II, but they made sure all 7 of us did, and had a lot of love in the house. But we learned that you had to work together, but also you needed to have, and I come from a military family, so that's why it was easy when we had to come up with a slogan to have one of respect, honor, commitment, and then the final word be Trenton. Because this is a city, I was born just a few weeks after a riot after Dr. King was assassinated. And it's a city that has suffered the effects from it ever since. All the businesses that left, the white flight that happened, when the growing middle class of African-American folks and Latino folks, they moved to the suburbs. A lot of my classmates from Trenton who moved out to the burbs, today they kind of, well, why are you still there? And I was like, well, I love where I live. I mean, it's a great city. It's great people here. Yeah, we have problems, but we also have a lot of opportunities. And when you live in the suburbs, and you might be able to have a 2 or 3 car garage, depending on how well you did or you hit the lottery. But here, I know my neighbors. Here, I know my community. We're a welcoming city, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, or who you're with. And that's one of the things I'm really proud of, because raising 2 teenagers here in the city, they have such a different life experience than the kids they go to school with. And I think they've learned a lot here that's going to carry them through life. And then they have an inner strength that I think we all have as Trentonians, that no matter what happens, you're a survivor and you're a person that can lift yourself up from the ground should you need to have to do that.
Oh, that's great. It's funny. I was just having a conversation the other day about how we had one bathroom, whether it be upstairs or downstairs, we had one bathroom, and you grow from there. It was something to do,
Mm-hmm. It's a life skill.
That's right. No matter how many people in the family, you got one bathroom and you deal with it,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We basically never even noticed it when we were coming up, right?
No, not at all. It's actually still, when I visit people and they have 2.5 bathrooms or 3 bathrooms in a house, it feels like it's a mansion, and it's not a mansion you would have seen on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. It just feels like one.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
simplicities in life.
Yeah. Now you're running for North Ward Council. You live in the North Ward. Now the North Ward isn't what it was, 30 years ago when I was younger, because North Ward used to be the North Ward, but now the North Ward is East Ward, South Ward, and everything. And Donnelly Home is not in the North Ward anymore, is it?
No, it's in the West Ward, and it's interesting. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because knocking on doors in some of the neighborhoods, it's a sad moment when you have to inform somebody, no, you're no longer in the South Ward, you're in the North Ward, or you're no longer in the East Ward. Chambersburg between South Clinton and near Unity Park. No, you're in the North Ward now, which my entire lifetime was the East Ward.
Yep.
So you actually do a lot of informing of people. I had one woman, she told me she's not going to vote in the election. And I asked her why. And I thought maybe it was something she didn't like, what we're doing for our policies. And she said, well, it's not about you. It's because I grew up in the South Ward. I've lived in this house. It was my parents' house for 60 years. I'm not a North Warder. I'm from the South Ward, and I'm not going to vote. And it's just, I tried to convince her you're disenfranchising yourself, but that civic pride, that pride of what ward you came from is so deep.
It really is. It really is.
But I'd like to see our crown. That just interrupt you, but I'd like to still, and I think they could still do it. I'd like to see our county clerk's office or city clerk's office send letters out to registered voters whose district's been moved, because way too many people I've talked to, there must be 100, didn't know that they were moved. And he also didn't know that the election moved from May to November.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That's something. Huh. Okay. And it's people talk about the number of people of Trenton who vote in elections. They say it's so minuscule. Well, you got to keep people informed. You have to keep people involved. And if you're not going to do that, then shut up.
I agree. We have the last time we had a municipal election, the participation rate was only 22%. Now that we're down to basically 1 1/4 newspapers, and I say a quarter because the Times is not the Trenton Times anymore. It's a Star-Ledger Light, and we really don't get much news there. And unless you're on Facebook getting your news sources from there, and that's never totally a good thing, unless you see it in the Trentonian, you're likely not to know about it. And that is really having a bad effect on civic engagement out there. But I also blame a lot of it on candidates. And, when we have partisan elections, et cetera, because you have to try to reach out to voters. If you don't reach out to voters, whether, they're likely to vote for you or not, when people become what they call lower propensity voters, and they only come out when it's a presidential, that's not good for our city. And I think a lot of our candidates don't knock on their doors. They don't go introduce themselves to our folks in the neighborhoods. And when you do that, you don't give them a reason to come out to vote. Because if they open their door and they're seeing the same street that has potholes in it, or the street lights are out, or the same, bad folks are down at the corner hanging in front of the store and they haven't left in, 10 years, and it's still a bit scary to just even walk around a neighborhood, they're not going to believe we can change the system. And they're not going to believe we can change the city. And that's one of the things I found by going to every single neighborhood I possibly could, having great conversations with folks, hearing what they had to say, what they want for priorities. And there is a lot of hope out there, but they need, like you said, the more engagement. And I think that starts with the candidates before you even get on city council. But I think also with our city, there is more engagement that the city obviously has to have, like the health department with COVID. That should have been something that was a stronger effort in the beginning. And just coming down to which streets and potholes and other basic issues. I've had plenty of occasions to jot down phone numbers for various departments depending on the problem that someone told me on their doorstep.
Okay. Very good. Now you did mention newspapers being 1 1/4 newspaper.
Yes.
I seldomly pick up a Trenton, one of the daily papers, but when I do, I notice that even in Trentonian, most of the papers don't have anything about Trenton in it. Just flip through it, just looking for one story. They don't have any stories about Trenton. Maybe once or twice a week. This is what people tell me. That there may be a story directly about Trenton, but other than that, it's state news, national news, and they get these from the news services. However, one newspaper in Trenton that always has stories about Trenton, and it has stories about the Black people in Trenton, has stories about the Latino people in Trenton. It's the Nubian News. And
yes, I was about to say that too.
We've been doing that for many, 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 many years.
Yes.
And all of our stories are about Trenton. Every last one of them about what's going on in Trenton, about the people in Trenton, about the events in Trenton. So Nubian, unfortunately we don't get the advertising dollars that the other ones get, so that we haven't been able to expand, but don't worry about that. We're coming. Now,
my apology. I should have deliberately said daily newspaper, because the Nubian news has always been there. And I know, even online now, you fill in a huge gap. You really do. Like, even in the old days, I did a lot of reading on, just even like with the Defender, went back in the 40s and 50s and the 30s, that addressed issues and got news around the country to the African American community. I believe it's the Pittsburgh Gazette. That also is another one. Even in the New York area, the Irish Times, which is geared towards the Irish community, it filled in a lot of local gaps, because there are a lot of communities, unfortunately, our major media don't care about or want to address, and hire journalists to cover.
All right. Now, you say you do a lot of walking around Trenton, huh? During this campaign? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Why are you running? What makes you want to be a North Ward council person, and what makes you think that you'll be good at being a North Ward council person?
Because this is my home. I've lived in the North Ward for 22 years after growing up in the East Ward. I was fortunate enough to go to college and graduate school in Philly and New Orleans. I got to see parts of the world, some of our world cities. But when you come home, it still fits. It still feels good. You feel back like in your right place. But one of the things I've been very blessed with, being on zoning board for 14 years and chair of it for the last 2, is every month we have a meeting the third Wednesday. But before that meeting, you get a docket of all the different applications. And one of the things you should always do as a member is drive around the city, see where the application's located, study what's on this side, what's on that side of the building, etc. But you get to see the neighborhood that it's in. And some of our neighborhoods, since I was a kid, you could pretty much ride a bike almost anywhere you wanted. I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. You can't do that anymore. People have known that for a long time. We've had problems really going back to the 90s with gangs and drug trade, etc. Trenton, we're not known as a safe city. We've had issues such as when one of our mayors several mayors ago laid off 1/3 of the police department. But it comes to me that the central issue we have is the bone-crushing density of poverty in our city. When I go through and talk to folks in these neighborhoods, and I see it as a zoning board member, when even 5, 6, 8 years ago, we were getting multi-million-dollar projects. You get a lot of small ones. Someone wants to put an addition on their house, convert a single family to 2-family, etc. Well, now that's mostly what we're getting. Or it's a local corner store wants to add a cooking hood to the business. And those are great things. We need more entrepreneurs. We are a city of great entrepreneurs and hustlers that just need the right opportunity to move on to the next level, or just someone to believe in them so they can start their businesses. But that's not going to help us en masse. And we need to have more jobs coming into the city, coming in to provide things where you have a livable wage. You have a chance to actually even get health insurance. You have college tuition reimbursement. And a lot of these companies, like, for example, the Amazons of the world with these warehouses, why are they building all the way out by the Turnpike exit 8A with this pristine farmland where we're supposed to be the garden state? We're supposed to be a state that wants to have more greenery with climate change, whatever it might be. And we have all this available land in North Trenton particularly. They should be coming here. They should be building here. We should be able to work with them, make sure they don't ruin a healthier environment, such as like with Coalport. We had a lot of issues with Coalport with dust. There's asthma up there, etc. But I think we can bring these businesses in one at a time and build from that.
How do you bring these businesses in?
I think one of the things this current administration has done a good job on is trying to attract some interest, like particularly with the pharmaceutical company that wanted to come and still wants to come to build a facility on Brunswick Avenue. That's somebody that can come in, whether it's 30, 50, or 100 jobs. We can start attracting businesses by coming, if we can get things approved. City Council has been so obstructionist, particularly in the last year or so. And I understand some of sentiment. We want to make sure Trentonians get hired for jobs. And I agree with that, but legally we're not we can't force businesses to do so. But when we get these businesses here, we can regain the tax dollars, the tax rateables, because we have a structural deficit because the state owns so much land. And if we can build businesses one by one, we give people jobs, they have something to do. It's going to help reduce our crime rate. You give people those opportunities. It also gives, I believe, our youth who are in the school system, we have an appointed school board, which I believe in. We have a superintendent, Mr. Earl, who I believe is doing a good job. We had a run of superintendents who were not doing a good job. But if we have jobs here in the city, that gives a goal that our young folks who are graduating from Trenton High, if they don't go to college, they don't go to trade school, they don't go to military, they can start building something here in Trenton. Just like in olden times when we had the Roebling factories, people could walk to their jobs. We have to rebuild our middle class in the city, but we also have to uplift the folks who are struggling in the poverty in our city too.
Now you say that there's Mr. Earl and the school board are doing a good job. What do you mean by that? Because the state, you look at the state report card, it doesn't follow.
Sure. What I've read in the scores are improving. It's an incremental thing. It's not something we're not going to.
I'm sorry, let me cut you. When you're at 9% and you go from 9% to 10%, it's an improvement, but that's not good.
It's a mathematical increase. That's correct, but it doesn't show that we're having superlative improvements. So I think what they're doing is they're getting things settled. They're getting things in place. So then when in the next couple of years, I think you're going to see those scores improve. Now, straight out, I do not have a PhD in education, so I'm not going to be able to sit here and say that, this model is the one they should follow. But from what I hear and from what I've read and even seeing Mr. Earl speak, I think we're going to be on a good track going forward. And I also, we're not having the problems that they have in other places. Other parts of the country, the locally here in Mercer, they're having a lot of problems with school boards, with parents, with some school board members who are trying to make sure that the kids aren't taught anything regarding what they believe is critical race theory, LGBTQ books, etc. If we have an elected school board, I believe that the circus we've had in city council will get worse, but I also believe that we'll have infighting amongst those members, and they'll be doing things to be populist. They'll be trying to do things on school board so to make sure they win votes or that they get publicity. And being someone who grew up in the city, we need stability. If we're going to move forward, we need to have stability, and I do believe that we have that. I do believe that the confidence I've seen that others who do know a bit more and are more expert in education and education administration, they seem to have a lot of confidence in Mr. Earl. I'd like to see personally, but one thing I will say this, and this is something I think should have happened by now, we do need to bring vocational technical schools back into the city to give our students, our young people, an option to go out once they graduate. They could begin entering the crafts, the trades, work as mechanics, and make pretty good wages, particularly in this day and age.
Make very good wages. Now let me change up a little bit. Reparations. Are you for or against reparations?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not going to tell you that I'm an expert in reparations as far as what this country should be paying. But I do think that something needs to happen if we can trace everything back to what current citizens had family members, ancestors that came over in those terrible voyages from Africa who suffered in slavery for several hundred years. Obviously, that allowed our country to make large gains, but our country who made large gains made it on the expense of the backs and the lives of millions of people. And I believe one of the figures is 84 million people, Africans, died in the voyages over here to what became America. You have what happened with the massacre of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. what happened in the South with all the lynchings, what happened when so many people were disenfranchised with the vote, with Jim Crow, just Reconstruction. I mean, the history is there, and that's why, for example, when I hear people say, "Oh, we shouldn't be teaching about racial history," well, do you know that New Jersey until 1947 had legalized segregation in our school systems? And people, they don't. They can't believe it's that recent. I mean, granted, we're 80 years away, more than 80 years away, but that is an important delineation we need to make, because all this didn't happen in the South. If you read a little bit of history, as I know you have, Chicago, New York, many cities, Philadelphia, there was a lot of segregation. May not have been on the books, but it exists. Redlining, that still exists today. And I defy anybody to say that systemic racism doesn't exist, to look at our city, because our city, unfortunately, many of the problems, I believe, are a result of that.
Okay, so as a council person, would you be willing to support or submit a resolution supporting reparations?
I would like to study that a little bit more before I put forth one, just because if we're going to do it, I need to make sure the language is there, that it's legally correct, that it's forthright, and that it's something that we can build a coalition behind and pass.
Now, you were saying earlier that there's 100,000 people in Trenton in one hospital. What can you, as a council person, a part of the administration, do about that?
Well, being independent of the administration, and on city council, we have the Strong Mayor, Weak Council model under the Faulkner Act. So a lot of your powers are really that you advise and consent, and that you would have to see what comes from the administration, what initiatives that they have, and you advise them on what you're thinking. You give them consent, either a yes vote or a no vote or an abstention. But one of the great powers I think that a city council has is you can really have a great bully pulpit to talk about issues, push issues forth, and try to make sure that the administration has the people's priorities in order and that they're addressing them. When it comes to St. Francis Hospital, quite frankly, there's not a whole heck of a lot we're going to be able to do. But when the meeting was held a few weeks ago at the Latino Merchants Association, one of the questions I brought up to the management, including the CEO of Capitol Health, is, will you guarantee that Helene Fould Medical Center will still be in our city for the next 25 to 30 years? And he unequivocally looked right at us in the audience and said, yes, I will guarantee that right now from the stage.
I hear
now,
you retiring.
No, of course, guarantees are worth what they're written on, and he didn't write anything. He just made an announcement in front of the audience. But we need to have leadership that's going to challenge people like the CEO of Capitol Health to decide, are you going to be a part of our community or not? And a lot of it doesn't feel like they're part of our community. When they closed Mercer Medical Center, when they got rid of the maternity ward, you can't even be born in Trenton unless you go to an ER and end up having Trenton on your birth certificate. And we have to challenge more when it comes to our healthcare, because certainly with COVID, we had healthcare disparities that just were glaring in our city, but also information and technology. So many more people in our city, they were late to find out about wearing masks in the beginning, about protecting themselves.
Is the basis of that racist?
I'm not going to say that the basis of all of that is racist, but certainly as far as media getting the word out, the government, their county government was very late to the table on trying to make sure that our city had all the information they needed. So I'm not going to accuse anyone specifically of racism, but I think the priorities didn't have necessarily Trenton in order, but also a lot of the other towns were very frustrated with our Mercer County government with not performing better at the beginning of COVID, with offering PPE equipment, masks, etc.
Okay. Now, if elected, what are we going to do about the police? About public safety? About working with the police?
Well, one of the things I think as a North Ward council person, You need to have your own relationship with the police department. You can't just go through our city government to deal with the police department, go through the administration rather. So what I'd like to try to do is build a much stronger relationship with the police director, but also with some of the rank and file. I'd like to make sure that the North Ward has officers that will get out of their cars, get to know our community, patrol our community.
Yeah, but how do you make that happen? Because people have been talking about that for decades.
Yes, they have.
Make that happen.
Particularly when we used to have what was a buzzword called community policing,
right.
Back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I think where we are today, we need to hire more police officers, but they need to be better trained. I'd like to see as far as what the education levels they have, what are required, the previous training they have coming in, maybe military training for some. But also, I think we need to look at other examples, have other cities have attracted better quality police officers, and also officers that want to embrace equity, want to embrace equality in policing. So every neighborhood's policed well, not just certain neighborhoods. That's been a continual problem in our city. But for example, Wilmington, North Carolina, I saw this a long time ago on 60 Minutes. One of the things they offered to try to attract really good police officers because they had terrible crime is to actually offer the officers low interest loans to buy properties in our city, or I'd like to see just take a model of what the city used to do with homesteading. Some of these properties that are abandoned, let's get some officers, firefighters, any other emergency responders. Let's try to offer them incentives to come and live here. Yes, give them a time frame of that they must own the property, not renting it to other people. But that would help build our economy, build our neighborhoods. But also, I think it would help us attract some officers we'll be very proud to have.
Tell me about what do you think about the waterworks situation? I'm hearing now that the state is actually going to take over our waterworks.
Well, the state
why hasn't that been solved? I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, this was the problem. As a matter of fact, during the last election, this was the big deal, and now it's even worse, or it seems to be worse now than it was then. What's up?
Well, quite frankly, I'm a person who's severely disappointed and really aggravated and worried about our water system because I was one of the folks who helped lead the Stop the Sale movement back in 2010 when our administration wanted to sell our suburban water pipes that we offered to some of the other towns, Ewing, Hopewell, Hamilton, Lawrence, to what ended up being a foreign company. And we stopped that. And our expectation was, okay, at that point, it was bringing in, I believe, $38.4 million into our city. And that when we stopped the sale, that they would start, they would keep maintaining the system and actually make improvements to it. But the worst case scenario happened. We ended up with, unfortunately, with Mayor Mack and all the troubles that occurred there. And then with the state, with the MOU and all the other issues that happened economically with the crash of 2008 even, we didn't have the money to put into the system. But even administratively, city council played a terrible role when we had the one water superintendent who came here from West Windsor, who's one of the foremost experts in water systems. And because they wouldn't agree to improving the system, doing some of the things he wanted, we ended up foregoing any improvements to it. Protections of it. From what I understand, we don't have enough personnel to actually maintain it at times and make the repairs to the streets when the sewers, the water systems break. And we have to do that because we should be able to guarantee ourselves clean drinking water as much as we do when the suburbs get very angry about the water quality with the Legionnaires issue, the inchworms. But we have to take care of our home first. And right. I believe city council coming up, like we had the water bonds this past summer that city council wouldn't bring to a vote, and the mayor had to have an executive order in order to meet these bonds. We're legally required to meet these bonds. But we have to guarantee all of us as human beings, as Trentonians, that when we turn on that tap, what we're drinking or brushing our teeth or taking a shower with is the best water it can be. And quite frankly, I know when I was younger, when you were younger, we had the best tasting water in the world, or in my opinion, or at least the United States.
You're right about that. Trenton used to have some great water. Great water.
Yes.
Hey, look, let me tell you what, we have to go. Okay.
Okay.
But I want you, now this is just personal. I want you to say hello to my friend, Dick LaRosa.
I sure will. He's
That's my
very
buddy.
excited.
That's my
And
buddy.
he can't wait to see this.
Okay, so you say, tell him I give him my love, and I appreciate you coming here on the case. We I'm sure people are happy to know who you are now and what you stand for, and we wish you much goodwill out there as you run for city council, and keep doing the work. I'm glad you've been doing the work on the zoning board. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say, if I take a moment, it's an honor to be with you, sir. You're a legend in this city, and you fought for this city for many, many years, and I benefited from that. And as someone who grew up here, I was part of when we started the film festival back in 2002, 2004, the Trenton Film Festival, which is still going today, 20 years later. And so many people told us it would never work because we didn't have a movie theater in Trenton. But we found a way, and it survived. And I know there's so many other people in the city, whether it's in music, it's in the arts, it's starting up a business. They can make it too if they get the opportunity. And that's what our job on city council is to give them the opportunity, create those conditions for that opportunity.
Ms. Williams, I thank you very much, and I'll see you later, okay?
All right, take care, sir. Have a nice evening.
All righty, thank you very much. All right, people. Boy, what a night this has been. I got to talk with my son and my niece and my daughter, and we just had a good time tonight. And Miss Williams, like I said, I met her through Dick LaRosa, who used to be Senator Dick LaRosa, who did a lot for the city of Trenton during his short tenure in government service to us. Next week I have no idea. I'm supposed to know these things, but I'm going to look up in my calendar. And next week is the 27th. Oh man, we got Kathy McBride next week. Kathy McBride, who is running for mayor, that will be our second mayoral candidate. Kathy McBride, who's right now the president of city council. People have been talking about city council. She can set you straight on that. And also, we're going to have Terry Wilson. We're going to be here also next week. She's running for, I guess, South Ward Council at Large. No, she's going to be here. We'll tell you all about that next week. I really appreciate all of you who have turned in to our show. We're trying to give you something that is worth listening to, and thank you. We really do appreciate your support. Tell your friends, tell your family every week, Thursday, 8:00. Okay, we're gonna do the best we can. So good night now. Take care.